Well, hello, everyone, and in this episode, we are going to discuss sailing Disney Cruise Line with your kids. From the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 575, 757 for the week of November 18th, 2014. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
Oops.
Well, that was certainly an interesting intro. Hello again, and welcome to the Diz Unplugged. I am your host, Dustin West, and I am joined at the table in this episode by my good friends Teresa Eccles, Jenny Lynn Knopp, Leah Zanola, Corey Martin, and back in the production nook we have associate producer Craig Williams. And again, welcome everybody.
You know how when it rains, people forget how to drive?
Yeah.
I think when it's cold here in Florida, we just forget everything.
Yeah, we
don't know what to do.
Is that what it is?
In a different zone. It is oddly chilly today and yesterday. So we wanted to talk about taking a Disney cruise, with kids. And we had Leah is in this week from Illinois, and so that kind of inspired us, I think, to talk about something more kid-related. And it just turned out that everybody else at the table has varying age groups of children. And then there's me and Craig.
I was going to say, how old are your kids?
So I thought this would be a good topic. Plus, we've got cruising on the mind. We're all heading out
Gearing
on
up
the cruise.
for podcast cruise.
That's right. So I just need to pull up my notes real quick, and because I'm horribly unprepared, and they're here somewhere.
Cruising on my mind.
Yeah.
Mind on my cruising. That's a song, right?
Just say it now.
So we've definitely covered the cruises whenever the new ships have come out or when any changes have been done with the ships. But I definitely thought it'd be good to focus on what it's like to take a Disney cruise with kids and what are some of the considerations with that. I know, JL, you just got off a cruise not too long ago,
yeah.
And you've written several articles and blogs about that. And Leah, of course, you've written a lot of articles and blogs about kids and cruise line in specific. But one of your more recent ones was your 6 tips for a smooth embarkation day on your Disney cruise. And I thought we could open up this discussion talking about what are some of the special considerations, especially with having children on embarkation day. So I don't know if you want to share some of those
you want me to
tips.
just go through the
Yeah, absolutely,
go over the 6
and we
things?
can kind of chat about it.
So the first thing is to complete your online check-in, and that way you're prepared ahead of time.
Amen.
Yeah, if you don't do that when you get to the terminal, then you've got to go stand in the line of people who have not filled out all of their papers and all of their documents with your kids, and it's just kind of a big pain. So-
Inevitably, I always show up at the port, and it's like, oh yeah, online check-in. I forgot. But then I have to wait in the line. But I can't imagine that would be...
Well, you can sign your kids up ahead of time for the kids clubs, and so you can set your password so that there's a password for you, like a security password, to get them out. You can do all of that ahead of time. So it's just so much easier. I don't know if you did yours all ahead of time.
When we went on the cruise, this was my first and only cruise, but so I'm in no way an expert. And it was very last minute because it was happening in a time in my life where everything was happening at once. So it felt like the whole experience was very rushed, and I wasn't really prepared. But that was one of the things that I did manage to do ahead of time, and it made getting on that ship very easy. I mean, we just went straight through the line, got on ship. I already had my password, all of those things, and I was very pleased with myself. There was a lot of things that I probably did not do right on the cruise, but that one I did right.
There's a separate desk for the kids in the terminal, so you go over there and you can get your Mickey bands, and I think they look different now. So do you still get them in the terminal?
No, they gave us the bands at the kids club counter.
Okay.
And this is just ignorance on my part because I don't have children. I've never cruised with children. I know for adults, when you go on a cruise, you have to either have a passport or you have to have a birth certificate and all that. What is the process with children?
So it's the same. I mean, you can get them a passport if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just bring their birth certificate. If you're doing a closed loop cruise, which means you're leaving and coming back to a U.S. port, then you can just do the birth certificate. If you're not, then you should have a passport.
As a travel agent, I recommend the passport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely. If you can at all do it.
If anything happens and you have to fly home, then you have to have a passport.
Oh, okay.
So it's just better to have
Or even if something happens while you're in port, it's good to have it. And it's always good to have a copy of it with you when you're off the ship.
Basically, you can't board a plane without a passport. The birth certificate isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a medical emergency and you have to be flown from the boat, which actually happened on my cruise. Interestingly enough, that was weird. And you wouldn't be able to fly, or your children wouldn't be able to fly unless they had passports.
Well, I never really traveled much when I was a kid, especially not on planes. So my whole experience as a kid was I never had any kind of form of identification. So I guess, yeah.
Maybe you're not who you think you are.
I'm not. I mean, I had a birth certificate, but I never had to use it for anything.
I have no identification whatsoever.
It's just a question I had.
But you know what? If you're booking your cruise far enough out, and it's not a last-minute cruise, there's time. If you have more than a couple children, I just try to space it over the year, over the time that I have. So you're just doing like one passport at a time. So it's not
it's expensive.
It is expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing is to arrive early. You can choose your port arrival time when you're doing your online check-in. And so we think it's better to get there as early as possible because why not? Why hang out in your hotel room or, whatever in the morning? Go ahead and get to the terminal. You get through your check-in quick because you've already done it online. And then you can take pictures with Mickey and Minnie are there. Your kids can look at the big model of the ship. You can, hang out until they call your name to go on board. So
right. And so are you saying get there before your scheduled time to board?
No, because there's nothing really, other than taking the pictures, there's nothing to do. There's no snacks.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one little vending machine, but there's not enough for you to just, entertain your kids really
there
for
are characters
very long.
sometimes doing meet and greets.
Yeah,
but
you can do pictures with Mickey and Minnie. The lines get kind of long, so if you have time. But no, I wouldn't get there early, but I just would schedule it as early as possible in the day. So
cool.
And then once you have arrived and they've called your name and everything, when you board the ship, we like to explore because there's not as many people on there. You can take pictures in the atrium with hardly anybody in it. There's going to be, it's just a great time to go around and take pictures, go look at the kids' clubs when there's nobody in there. And
it's also good for adults. Yeah. I know some adults want to go see, like maybe, especially on the Magic, they want to go see the new Avengers thing.
You can go in and it's not creepy.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
allowed to go in and look at the kids' clubs. And yeah, because even with kids, like we want to take pictures of our kids playing in there, but we can't go do that during the week.
Yeah.
Because then you're not allowed in, and then there's other kids, and so it's a fun time to do that.
And if you're adventurous, it's also a good time to get acclimated to the ship. Because especially for
familiarization. I had no idea where I was going or what I was doing. A lot of the time, I'm a little bit directionally challenged, but it was helpful to have that time beforehand to kind of get my bearings. Where's the kids' clubs? Because mine were spread into all 3 different kinds of kids' clubs. And where's the movie theater? Where are the restaurants? So on and so forth. Pool deck. These are all important places. You need to know where they are.
I don't think you're alone there. I mean, even when you've been on a cruise several times, you still kind of say, all right, what floor is that on?
Especially if it's a different ship. It could be a little bit different. And so you can also eat lunch. The buffet is open. And so I figure, why pay for McDonald's on the way to the port? Eat the free. You've already paid for it.
Yeah.
So go to the buffet and eat lunch there.
Oh, those lamb chops.
Sea bags.
Hey, where were we talking about?
Again.
All right, go ahead.
The next one is to bring a carry-on bag with wheels. You can't get into your stateroom till sometimes 1 o'clock, but normally 1:30. And so you're going to have to carry whatever you bring on. I mean, you can leave your luggage and they will take that to your stateroom. But if you have, like your medications, I don't send my laptop with the porters, so I've got to carry that. So anything that you're carrying on can get heavy if you're carrying it around for a couple of hours.
That is my life in general with travel, because I always travel with so much equipment that I know, like the whole, these are the necessities, these are things I don't want to get misplaced or stolen. I've got to travel with that. So I completely understand that. And now that my brother has had a child, I'm kind of getting used to the fact of children come with a lot of bags. They come with a lot of stuff. There's diaper
true.
bags. There's
Just now figuring that
cleaning
out.
stuff. There's clothes.
Cleaning
I
supplies.
don't know what
Cleaning
I don't want to get into that.
409,
Clorox.
and like a change of clothes for every single possible outcome. It's
That's actually, I don't know if this is one of your points, but that is actually something that will make your embarkation day easier if you're bringing a change of clothes and bathing suits.
That's the next thing.
Oh,
So, yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Start it.
yeah. Let's start it.
Well, there's the pool, so that's something you can do before you go to your room. So
And
it's
it's
really
not
helpful.
crowded for once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably the only time.
Yeah.
I mean, really, those pools are terrible. I think that. Yeah. Anyway, going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So change of clothes, bathing suits. Bring them with you in your bag.
Or wear them. This picture that's up is our kids, our boys. They just wore their swimsuits and their little swim shirts and Crocs, and there was nobody around, so they got to swim and enjoy the area with nobody
Based
else
on
there.
this picture, this is in one of the splash zones. I think that's either on the Dream or the Fantasy.
I think it's the fantasy.
But I wanted to ask you about that. Beyond just the pools, when you first board the ship, are the slides and the aqueduct and that kind of stuff? That's all operational.
Yep.
Yep.
That's when you should do that stuff. Either
Yeah.
that then or like one of the busy days, like a Castaway
Key day.
That's a good day to do it. Everybody's off the ship.
Yep. Yeah, we did the aqueduct just over and over and over because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
So,
And those can
Yeah.
get some really long lines, especially on sea days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's bathrooms on that pool deck, so you can always change back into your clothes if you're done swimming before your stateroom's open.
It's a good way to pass that time without standing in the stairwell portion of the hallway, just waiting for them to
Waiting
open up
for them to take down that little thing that's blocking the stateroom hallway.
which I've done a couple
Yeah,
times.
you can limbo under that, man. I've done it.
Nothing's stopping me. I'm a grown man. Nothing's stopping me from walking.
Nothing's stopping me from limboing.
Cool. All right.
The last thing is just to unpack right away, because if you don't, then you're going to end up doing it later that night. You're rushing to get things done as the kids are ready for bed, and it's just kind of a pain. So we would prefer to just unpack and be totally done, and that way we don't have to mess with it later.
Providing your luggage has arrived.
Well, once your luggage arrives, but that way it's just done, and you can go to the show at night. You can take the kids to the kids club, and you're not stuck in your stateroom unpacking.
I'm realizing as you're saying these tips for your embarkation that I, as a grown man, could benefit from these. It doesn't just relate to people with children. Like
Cleaning supplies.
cleaning supplies, bring a parka, and
wear your swimsuit.
right, and my Crocs, and I should probably unpack my bag. Usually, I'm just always out of the suitcase. It's much better to have your stuff in the drawers. And I know exactly what you mean. That's like the last thing you want to do on your first day, because the first day is very eventful, and that's like the last thing you want to be doing when you're ready to go to bed.
Right.
is
Not only
unpacking
that,
stuff.
but your stateroom host comes in there to do things for you, and it's just probably nicer for them to have everything put out of the way.
Yeah, if you've got your stuff all over the bed and they're coming in trying to...
They're trying to turn
yeah.
down the sheets for you or make little nice animal towel things. I don't know. It's just nice to have everything put away when they come in.
Do you keep a tidy room, Jenny Lynn?
Not when we go on trips, but when I have my kids, I do, because otherwise it gets out of control very quickly.
And they follow your lead, huh?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I like to keep it tidy, whether the kids are there or not, because then
Well, you almost like if you have 4 people or 5 people in a room, you need to keep it.
Yeah, you
tight
gotta keep
because
it.
That's what
it
I'm
gets
saying.
really,
First thing I
really
do
crowded in a dirty room.
first thing I do with my children is I assign drawers. This is yours. This is yours. You keep your whatever, your crap.
Keep your drawers in your drawers.
Keep your drawers in your drawers. Keep your stuff picked up. This is for your dirties. This is for your clean. Everything's laid out, and everybody's got their assigned spot. Especially when they were younger.
Yeah.
And I knew. And then with
It just has to be that way with kids.
Yeah.
If you're with yourself, not so much. I can exist in what I call organized mess, but not with my children.
I would say one thing about like Julie and I, before we had kids, we loved the rooms with the veranda. I mean, even this year we have a room with a veranda, but with kids, it adds another layer of what if. What if they get out on that veranda and they have chairs out there? I mean, they could easily step on a chair. I don't know. That it
they could go under the railing and end up with the animals. In
Well,
the
that's an
veranda.
animal kingdom.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother. That's a different side of Disney there. But we talked about this, that I think we would want to do a inside stateroom or a big porthole room, so we didn't have to deal with that whole veranda and those worries. But I don't know. While we're
My
talking
first
about the room.
cruise, Stella was, 6? I think she was finishing up first grade or in first grade. And I did not want a veranda because I was, for that reason. I just didn't want her to go over the side. Because I'm not a water person anyway. I knew I wouldn't go after. I'd just be waving.
There's a Ferris shoe in the water somewhere.
Yeah.
The whole cruise were looking, where's this other shoe?
It's in the water,
it's in
yeah.
The water. You threw it.
Well, I thought that would be a good way to open up this discussion because that's the start of your cruise, and those are some great tips for folks with kids on that. I also wanted to discuss your food options on board. There's different types of restaurants. Obviously, there's the rotational restaurants, and then there's the more fast food type options, and then there's just snack places and the buffets and stuff like that. So maybe you guys could share your opinions on what have been your best experiences with kids and the different types of restaurants. Who wants to open that up?
We like to do room service a lot for breakfast because then we don't have to have everybody all dressed and ready to go. And it's not even getting them ready, but we have to then be ready before them, to go out, because you don't really want to go out at least I don't, in my pajamas and, so we do room service. And we wouldn't do that in a hotel because you're actually paying for room service prices.
But this is complimentary.
Right, you're just paying for the tips. And so it's not nearly as much. So we do that. And we let the kids pick, the night before, choose what you want to eat. So they've decided. So that's what we do most of the time.
So you always do breakfast?
Most of the time, yeah.
In the room. My kids are a little older, obviously. Mm-hmm. The last cruise we were on, it was just the girls. And Stella liked room service, or she'd wait for me. Grace was, as a teenager, up and out. I'm going to eat on my own and I'll be back. Or I'll go get something and we give her a list, bring this back to the room. Use your children when you can.
Yeah.
And so we did that a lot for breakfast. Or a lot of times the teenagers, they'll just skip breakfast, because they'd rather sleep.
Mm-hmm. My older two always hit the all-you-can-eat buffet.
The buffet, yeah.
That's what they wanted to do. My younger one, she and I would go more to the sit-down restaurants because we just liked doing that together. But the other ones, they just kind of wanted to go, get what they wanted, be done with it, and then get on with whatever their activity was.
What about the whole, at least from my perspective as an adult, there's you don't have to on a Disney cruise, but there is kind of this more formal dinner in the sense that, everybody's getting ready for dinner, and it's kind of an event. It's this dinner event on the Disney cruise ships. What are you guys' thoughts on having your kids there? Do they feel comfortable? Are you comfortable with them, with the other folks that maybe don't have kids?
Are you talking about formal night or just
not
dinner
necessarily
in general?
In general, because dinner on the Disney ships, the rotational dining, is more of an event than other cruise lines.
It is an event.
I'll say, with my kids, and I actually have a post coming up on the Diz soon about this, me time versus we time. I tried to allow my children to be a little bit independent when we went on the cruise because they're a little bit older. But there were certain activities that I was like, nope, we are doing this together. I understand that you all have your things you want to do, and that's good. I'm going to allow that, but we will be together for this, and this. One of those non-negotiables was dinner, and we would eat dinner together in whatever rotated restaurant we were in, and it was great. I loved it. They enjoyed it. We were on the Fantasy. So they had 3 restaurants there. The first one was Royal.
I can't remember if that's Palace.
I don't know if it's Palace or Court.
Royal Court is the Royal Court, and then the Enchanted Garden and Animator's Palette. I think they felt like the Royal Court was a little stiff, but they still enjoyed it. The food was still good. They really, really liked the Enchanted Garden. It just has a very whimsical feel to it.
Yeah, I would imagine, though, kids would most like Animator's Palette, if I had to guess.
They did love Animator's Palette. There was an activity that they did there where they handed, before we were permitted to order our meal and eat, they gave us a placemat, and everyone had to draw a character on the placemat. And then what we didn't realize was later on, they put every single person's animated picture in this movie that they make.
Oh, I love that. That's like one of the best things.
Spoiler alert.
Crazy with it.
Most people
sorry,
know
they're
just
listening
joking.
to find out.
Yeah.
Anyway, my kids went crazy over that.
Yeah.
They were asking if there was any way that we were able to get, a copy of the video that they had made, and they just loved it. Plus, the restaurant changes, but that also happens to a degree in the Enchanted Garden. Everything blooms by the end of the meal, and they got a really big kick out of that.
And every time I go into that restaurant, I tell myself I'm going to pay attention to when the stuff changes, and I always miss it.
It's so subtle.
You know, the best, I think the most important thing about the family dining together in the evening, other than the fact that you're dining as a family together, is one, you're meeting new people, because if you're a small family, you're dining with other people you might not know or you might be traveling with, but it's still fun to dine with them. Also, the fact that you have the same servers every night, and those servers, night one, they might not know you, but by the second night, they've got it down.
They're bringing you escargot for dessert.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you have a weird little quirk.
If they know your kid's only going to eat, plain colored food with nothing on it, they know that stuff.
I was on a cruise, and I can't remember which cruise it was, but the table next to us, everybody at that table wanted orange soda. That was like their drink of choice. And they would come in with these giant trays of orange soda. Like it was almost like the ketchup at Whispering Canyon. They come in this giant thing of orange soda. It can be fun.
And they do little games and tricks at the table for the kids.
Yeah, they do magic tricks, and they help cut up the kids' food, and they make Mickeys out of the ketchup.
Yeah, that's nice.
By the way, the whole let me meet your needs type thing, I wasn't ready for that.
It's hard to get.
I've never had somebody else cut my children's food for me before, and it was actually very difficult for me to sit there and allow someone help my children that way.
That's the same with the lobster. I can't take it when they cut the lobster up for me. Does anybody have children or other family members that have special dietary needs that you've experienced? Because I know Disney Cruise Line is usually pretty good with that.
Yes. So my oldest daughter has a peanut allergy and a dairy intolerance, and she shouldn't be eating gluten and so on and so forth. So we gave that a little test run on the cruise line, and everyone was amazing to a degree that it really took me aback. And again, there's another post on the Diz if you guys want to learn a little bit more in depth about the options for people with special dietary items. The best thing to do when you have a situation like that is to stick to the restaurants. They actually are more comfortable in that setting because they can accommodate you individually, and they have the best equipment in order to meet those needs. They can accommodate you at the snack counters and the buffet as well, but it's a little bit more laborious. The chef will come out to talk to you, but you're gonna be waiting longer. It's not gonna be the convenient fast food thing that it is for everyone else. It's they would still prefer you to, if they know that you want to pick something up at the snack counter, they actually kind of want you to order it the night before, and then they'll have it ready for you to pick up the next day. But it's just more easy for them as well as yourself if you're in the restaurants. And the chefs are fantastic. Once they get it down, what you can and cannot have, not only do you have options that are laid out specifically on the menu, but the chefs will start to brainstorm themselves about what they think that you're going to like according to your taste that they learn within the week, and they start coming up with some very creative things. And they're just on the ball with it. Like Marga with her gluten issue, after that first night, there was automatically a bowl of gluten-free rolls brought specifically to her table. To her position at the table. This isn't special dietary, but like they knew that we liked lemons with our water. So lemons were automatically on the table before we even got there.
Did you tell them ahead of time of her issues?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, we sent in a thing that had all of that laid out, and they came and they spoke to us about it the first night. And it was just there from then on. Sorry,
I wanted to ask you about that. Do they make that difficult to send something in beforehand, or is that just part of the process? I have never been through
such an easy process with special dietary needs as I did on the cruise line. And I've had to do it in the parks as well, but this was effortless.
Now, I assume you can do that on online check-in. Say Margot was 5 and she was going to the kids clubs. You're not there to tell them what she needs. You can do that online.
The kids clubs are notified. Everyone is notified. If you take care of this ahead of time, everyone that should be coming in contact with your child in a supervisory type of position is notified of the situation. So in Elle's case, she doesn't have any specific allergies that we're aware of, but we also try to be very careful of her food choices because she does have a history of it from when she was young. Yeah. And so she knew that she wasn't supposed to eat when she was there, and the people at the kids' clubs were notified that this isn't like an extreme situation, but we would prefer not. So when they were feeding the other children, they would just take her and remove her to another location in the kids' club. And she actually, in a way, it was even cooler because she got a lot of very individualized attention from the caretakers, and she just felt so special because, she's getting the sole attention of this one person while they're working on a craft, and it's just the two of them.
Stella had that experience one time. I forgot her in the club, and the club had closed, and they called me. I was sound asleep in bed. They called me, and Miss Eccles, does someone want to come get Stella? And I went and got her, and she had every one of them. She had every one of them to herself, and she was sitting in the middle, and she felt special till I showed up, and then.
One thing I did want to say, what I found out is going back to embarkation day. If you have special dietary needs, you have the option when you get on board of ask a crew member, and they will be able to tell them about your special dietary situation. They have an option where you can go and you can speak with the chef right then before everything starts. So they'll tell you where the location is, and then you can go and let them know of your specific situation, and that way you can know that you've got that one-on-one communication. It's not just on a piece of paper and something might be overlooked. You can cross your T's and dot your I's.
I would make sure before you even go that far, before you even on the cruise, to make sure your reservation's noted, whether it's with an agent or you do it yourself. That way you do have that extra layer of protection that we've noted it, you've noted it, the ship has noted it. But I always recommend once you get on the ship to, like Jenny Lynn said, to make sure everything's covered. So,
well, I want to move on real quick, but I think it's really good that we kind of hit the point that even though, especially in the dining rooms, even though it can feel like more of an event, kids and parents are very comfortable in that, and that's something special I think about Disney. The next thing I want to talk about was the kids clubs. You just brought that up, and maybe we can just give a brief overview of how the kids clubs work and how they're special to Disney, and then just kind of talk about maybe which ones are the best or what are the different age groups and how do the kids kind of fall in line there. So anybody?
We've never been to the kids clubs. We've only experienced the nursery. This year we'll be able to do the kids clubs. So we've only put Ferris and Finley in the nursery, and you do have to pay for that. And I think it's open from 9 to 11,
something like that, and it's $9 for the first child, $8 for the second child
per hour.
It can add up. It adds up fast.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to save that money.
The nursery is 6 months to 3, and I think you can't. Can you not go in the kids clubs till you're potty trained?
That is correct.
Right.
You have to be potty trained.
Yeah. Then the Oceaneers Club and Lab is 3 to 12, and then Edge is 11 to 14, and Vibe is 14 to 17.
What I found out, though, is that those boundaries are not hard and fast. If your child is kind of near the cusp on something, they'll either let them move up or move back.
Well, it's the kid's choice at that point, or your choice,
Miller was at an age where he was permitted to choose in between the Edge and the Vibe, and he was also old enough to check himself in and out. And so he got a big kick out of that, actually. And so he would frequently, they're playing dodgeball in the kids club, so I'm sorry, did I say Edge and Vibe? I meant the kids club and the Edge. If they were playing dodgeball in the club, that's where he wanted to be, and then he'd check out, and then he'd go over to the Edge where they're having a pizza party.
That's because he was bigger than all the other kids, and he wanted to dodgeball.
It is. Do I want to be the big kid and rule over everybody, or do I want to go over here and listen to see what the big kids are doing?
But he liked it, and they let him go in between both of them, and I didn't even have to be there to check him in and out. They allowed him to check himself in and out.
How old is he?
He's 12.
I think at 9 you can start checking yourself in and out.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. You mentioned the pricing on the nursery. Are the kids clubs free?
Yes.
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You pay a reduced. You don't pay like the same amount for a child as you do for an adult. Babies are 50% of the child's rate, so you're paying less. But then for the nursery, you do have to pay, because they require more care.
Yeah.
And so you are paying per hour.
And I'm sure there's more special requirements for the cast members.
I mean, there are bottles, there's formula, there's changing diapers.
Schedule,
it's just tons of stuff. You got to rock them to sleep some.
Yeah. Kids clubs are more free form.
Now, when I'm on the cruise, I feel like it's so rare for me to see children unless it's at the pools or it's at dinner.
That's because they don't come out of the kids clubs.
That's what I was going to ask.
Our boys,
they don't go to the bars either.
No, our boys are there all the time. They come out for supper, like Jenny Lynn said. That's we're all eating.
And you drag
together,
them out sometimes.
and then they go back. and
I hope.
we have to come and say it's time for bed. You
The
have
person
to
I
come.
had the hardest time getting out of there was my 14-year-old, my teenager.
Yeah.
She wanted to be in Vibe all the time. I don't know what they were doing in there, but they were having
Yeah, once
They're
they're there,
supervised.
I mean, it was great. I think they have, is it their own deck? I don't know. I
they have
felt
their
like
own,
I wasn't
they
even
have their
allowed
own
inside.
pool, if you want to call
On
it
the
that.
fantasy, at least, they have basically that whole front portion of the
Yeah,
ship.
they have their own deck,
Yeah.
their own pool. She was in there playing video games. They even make a movie. Like
Yeah.
they all work.
Yeah.
They work all week on making a zombie movie.
There's
Oh my God.
so many activities for them to do.
She'd be out. I've never let my child stay out this late, but she would be like, "Mom, please let me stay out till 1. They're doing
Please
such
let me stay out till 8 p.m.
So
Right?
I actually let her stay out till 1 a.m. I've never done that before in my life. I probably won't ever do it off of a boat. But
Well, she wasn't roaming the streets of Orlando. She was on in a
she was in a
safe
container,
environment,
which is
you
why
know.
I allowed it.
Well,
but
I'm sorry. I definitely feel like the kids' clubs make Disney stand out amongst other cruise lines, but it also seems to be that you see a lot of people don't book Disney Cruise Line because they think it's going to be filled with children. But I think the point that I just brought up says something. Like, I never see the kids. It's so good that they're always there. And if you want to have that adult experience, you absolutely
You can.
It depends on the
I've got a
location,
lot of
yeah.
clients that are child free, and they love the love of Disney is bringing them to the cruise ship.
Now, do you guys feel like certain Disney ships, there's the 4 Disney ships, certain Disney ships are better with kids clubs and the amenities, or does it not really matter across the ships?
I don't know
I
yet.
think it really matters. I mean, we were on the Wonder in 2010, and there's not all the technology in there, but that's going to be fixed. I imagine
Oh, yeah.
they're going to rehab that next year. So I don't know. It's hard to say now, but it's all just so
Well,
technological
the
that
two
they just love
classic ships, the kids clubs, the Explorer, and the
Well, the magic has
Oceaneers
changed.
Club.
Yeah.
It was 2 different locations.
Yes.
And with the 2 newer ships,
They're connected.
they're connected with that kitchen galley area, and kids are free to go back and forth, which I think is a nicer. The first time I did it, I was a little leery because I thought, well, do we really want the big kids mixing with the smaller kids?
But I think they probably just don't really.
I was going to say the truth is
12-year-old's
those
not
kids
gonna wanna
separate
go play.
themselves.
Right.
They
with my
separate themselves,
3-year-old.
but some of the shyer, bigger kids can go, and be more of an observer or go help with the little kids, or it's a nice.
And they've
I like
got
it better.
planned activities the whole day. You don't have to do them, but you can. You can just play by yourself. Like you can print. They've got a printer somehow that you can print out all kinds of pictures. And so Jacob every time comes back with these stacks, and I just keep thinking, you're wasting all this ink. and then he likes
Such your ink, though.
I know. And then he likes to drive the ship. There's something where it's like
Yeah,
a
still like
virtual
that.
reality kind of thing, and that's what he does the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do the activities if you want to, but you don't have to.
And they're all
So-
individually in little compartments. So,
Right.
If you want to be over in the reading, story time, whatever, you want to be watching a movie, you can be out there dancing, and you're not really being bothered by the other kids doing something beside you because you're in your own little space.
Yeah, and the counselors learn who they are. I mean, like we've got one guy that we're friends with. He lives in England, and we Skype with him
wow.
because the kids became such good friends with him, and we've sent packages back and forth, and because I think they saw him on 2 different cruises and just formed this bond, and they really get to know the counselors. They have so much individual attention towards these kids. It's just great.
That's awesome. Well, I was also going to ask about like some of the other activities that the ships have just beyond the kids clubs. Obviously there's the pools, there's the water areas. There's also like the basketball courts and stuff like that. Do your kids play at that stuff? Do they spend time there, or is it more focused on the kids clubs? And what do you guys think about those areas on the ship?
Our kids either stay in the kids clubs. We've not really done the sports decks. We've gone mini golfing. We've done that.
Yeah.
I think that's on the fantasy. I've done. I think it's called the Mickey 500. Have you done that? Where you build a little car out of vegetables and you race it, like the Pinewood Derby in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
And so you build your family as a little team, and you build a car out of vegetables and you race it, and that's really fun. So we've done that. And then the Midship Detective Agency on the Dream and Fantasy.
Right.
We've all
Did your
done
kids
that.
do that?
No, we didn't do
We
that.
like that. We've all done that.
It's almost
Yeah.
like the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. In
Right.
the Magic Kingdom. Wait, I just said
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom way too many times. On the ships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really fun. So they've done that and
The
loved it.
sporting areas, I know Grace on a couple of her last cruises.
She's sporty.
She's sporty. but you've immediately making friends with the other kids in the teen club, and then they're roaming, because they can check themselves in and out, so they're not staying in that club. They're like roaming in little packs of, teens.
And then I don't know about Disney, but I was on a Norwegian ship recently, and they had the teen groups doing scavenger hunts around the ships. I don't know if you've seen that, but that is.
It's fun.
It's so bizarre when they come in waves asking you questions. Have you seen this character?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. That's cool. And then you were talking about the pools earlier, how they get crowded throughout the day. So you try to avoid those?
Especially on sea days. Our kids aren't really swimmers at all, and so that's just not our thing. But we don't go to the pool on a sea day because
it just seems like it wouldn't be relaxing to lounge around.
Yeah, and you just have to watch. Like, you're so worried they're going to go under or go too far away.
Like children's soup, and I don't like it. We're not pool people either.
A nice shade
We are
of
pool
yellow.
people. My children are strong swimmers, and I still did not let them go near those pools. After the first day when it was so very, very crowded, I was just like, we're just skipping this. You guys can go in the aqueduct. You guys can go in the interactive water areas. That's fine. Pool is out. I just had visions of them being caught underneath and trampled under 100, little kids with water
that's
wings.
gruesome.
It was a very traumatic vision that I had, so I just didn't allow it.
I like the pool area for the movies.
Yeah.
That's a fun family thing to do that. Or just to walk by and look at all the
it's
people.
a lovely place to be. I just didn't want them in that water.
But I think it can also be said that especially on the Dream and Fantasy, which are the larger two Disney ships, that there are a lot of pools and water play areas on that ship, probably more so than most other ships would have on other cruise lines. And so even though they do get crowded, there's a lot of options if your kids are into that. Like on the Fantasy, they have the Nemo's Reef for the toddlers, the splash zone, and then they also have the picture we showed earlier with the buckets that dump on you. And so there's a lot of fun stuff up on deck that you can do, especially on sea days, even though it's crowded. It really gives you a lot of options for your kids if you want. Now, the next thing I wanted to talking about sea days, the opposite of that is ports of call. Because the last thing I was thinking about when I was kind of working on this segment is other than Castaway Cay, I never really think about taking kids around like the ports of call and what that experience would be like. So I thought maybe first we could talk about Castaway Cay and what's offered there, because obviously Disney caters to that, to children and stuff on Castaway Cay. But then I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about what your experience is on other ports of call. So what's at Castaway Cay? Anybody?
Castaway Cay has Scuttle's Cove for the kids. It's basically they moved the whole kids club off the ship. You cannot leave your kids in the kids club on the ship on Castaway Day because all the counselors are off at Scuttle's Cove.
Okay.
They do still check them in with their Mickey bands and the computers, and then you can use the wave phones if they need to call you. There's no water around there, so they don't have to worry about your kid, falling in the water and getting injured. It's basically like a big sand dig pit
sunny
thing,
sand burning your skin. Stella gets burnt every time she's gone there. I don't know.
Not a lot of shade there, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Or she's just like standing out in the middle, all the reflective,
So that's the organized kids activities.
I didn't realize that they basically just transplant the kids club onto the island.
And it's cool. It's secure.
Wow. I still never saw my teenager because even we went to Castaway Cay, she was like, "I'm with the teens. See ya, Mom."
Well, what's also good about that is, if they're scanning them in, they keep track of who's on the ship and who's off the ship and stuff.
Yep, there's a family beach where you can all go to. There's a teen beach. Is that where she was at?
Yep.
There's a teen beach?
There is, and I just, again, I felt bad when I had to go get her. I was like, am I allowed? Am I allowed here?
It's the forbidden beach. You're not allowed there.
No, I know.
Oh, even parents aren't allowed?
No. Oh. When I had to go get her,
like
everyone's looking at you like, why are you here?
What are you doing?
The food on Castaway is all pretty kid-friendly. It's all like barbecue stuff. So there's hot dogs and hamburgers and chips and
the
fruit
ice cream machines there,
ice
the drink
cream
machines there.
Yeah.
Oh, for people with special dietary needs, you make those arrangements ahead of time, and they will have your food ready for you at Castaway Cay.
Is it the same kind of food, like barbecue picnic-y kind of food, or does it just depend on what
it depends
your
on what your
restrictions
need
are?
is.
Okay.
They're coming in with escargot.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know if it was like. Right. Corey would be thrilled. Corey would love that.
Well, Castaway, there's other things to do. I mean, the teenagers, Grace always likes to go bike riding, and, there's other more activities.
There's
they
that
can do.
big thing out in the water.
That like
where you-
slide tower.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
was where my two younger ones pretty much wanted to be all the time.
I guess I should probably just mention for those that may be listening for the first time and don't know, Castaway Cay is Disney's own private island. And so all of these elements that we're talking about are run and operated by Disney on this island. So it's the most controlled environment as far as ports of call that we go to. So what's it like being in the Bahamas with your kids?
Well, you say, don't touch my children, don't braid my children's hair. And I'm not big on the Bahamas. We've been off a couple times there.
I wanted to ask, I mean, continue to talk about Nassau or whatever, but I just wanted to ask, what is, in your own experience, what is the best port of call that you guys have been to with kids?
Castaway Cay. We've never taken our kids off the ship at any other port. We either put them in the nursery or something because, I just, they were in the stroller age, and I just don't see pushing a stroller around Nassau or, Cozumel or anything.
Grand Cayman.
Actually, I think we did take them off in Cozumel.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, you guys were
we
shopping
did take them there, and they
We
love
left-
the jewelry stores.
all the glass.
Yeah.
I went to St. Martin and St. Thomas with my kids on our cruise, and St. Martin wasn't as much of a hit. We didn't. Our shore excursion got canceled, and so we just went to the beach, and we enjoyed it and had a good time. But they were hot and hungry and having to walk back and forth to the boat, so there was quite a bit that going on in between. But St. Thomas, they loved it, probably because of the shore excursion. We went on a pirate ship to this cove where we could see sea turtles. That was a comic experience. For my youngest, she just loved it, looking at the sea turtles. She just couldn't wait to get in the water, to the point she jumped in way before all of us, and I thought that the current was going to take her out into the middle of the ocean. I was never going to see her again before I was able to jump in myself. My son had a little bit of a more difficult time. His mask wasn't working, and he had to sit in the boat a lot. But they still really, really loved that whole experience. But again, I agree with Corey. Castaway Cay, hands down. That's where the kids want to be.
And I can't say that there's like a general rule of thumb with children. You can't just say that children aren't going to enjoy walking around these ports. But I think in general, it's probably a wise thing to go with some sort of port adventure or shore excursion because it gives some direction to it. And you can obviously hone in on what your children are interested in.
We did several excursions at Grand Cayman. We did a turtle farm. Both the girls enjoyed that. You get in the water, little pools with the turtles. You had to hold them, different things. We also went to visit hell. I wouldn't recommend that. That was just kind of bizarre. It was a bus to hell. And
I thought that was in the middle of your sentence. You were just describing how bad this thing was.
No, the turtle farm was amazing. And then Costa Maya, we didn't do any excursions there. I had a friend who did riding jeeps with their kids, and they really enjoyed that.
Was that when you had the baby tiger?
That's when we held the baby lion,
baby
which
lion.
probably isn't there anymore. But that was fun. But Cozumel has a beach break excursion that I've had several clients do. And it's like a 25, 30-minute bus ride to this beach area, and there's pools and there's water slides and fun. And I think, what was it, like $62 a person, but lunch is included. And it's kind of a little getaway if you don't enjoy the shopping.
So you kind of have to pay attention to the port adventures of how long it's going to take to get to them, because a lot of them you have to take a bus. And so if your kids are going to be really bored, then you need to take that into account. Yeah. We got off at, was it Cozumel? No, not Cozumel. Where did we go? The Costa Maya.
Yeah.
Both of our families went, well, not your kids, went to the Mayan ruins. And we didn't have Lydia, we just took the boys. If we would have had Lydia, I don't think we would have taken all of them. But it was quite a while. I don't know, it was maybe an hour.
It was a long bus
it's
ride.
a long ride, yeah.
And the ruins were great, and they loved it, and they really like learning about stuff like that, so they really enjoyed it, and they went back to school.
What ruins did they take you to? Was it Tulum?
No, that was the really, really long excursion.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got to take a ferry and a bus ride to
It was I don't know how you say it, Chobin or something, something
Was
like
it
that.
Chichen Itza or something like that? Okay,
No.
that's even further. Okay.
And so they really enjoyed it, and then they went back to school and were able to tell all about it, and they did a little report for school and
that's
stuff.
cool.
But it depends on your kids.
Absolutely. I'd
And
be chasing
like
Ferris
they
up
didn't
that
take
thing.
their kids, and so there was a lot of
Yeah.
reclining, and it would have been hard to take younger kids. So you really need to look at the shore excursions and see if it's going to work
Do
for
you
your family.
do you ever feel limited by any kind of age restrictions or anything like that? Like, oh, that would be a cool one, but there's an age restriction.
A lot of them start at like age either 6 or 8, and so.
And I think if there's an age restriction, it's there for a reason.
Right.
You know, it's like you're not going to want to be pushing a stroller around ruins.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just the age restriction's there for a reason.
Well, it's not going to interest the child unless
No.
they're like a little Einstein or something that, is going to be all, unless they're very interested in that kind of thing. And in that case, your own child, if they're going to be interested in.
Another thing to take into consideration is how many children you have. When we went on our shore excursion, it was me and against the 3, and it was very difficult for me as a mom who likes to be in controlled situations to feel I felt very out of control. I had one child jumping off the side of the boat before I could get there, and the other one was staying behind, and it was like, which child do I stay with? And this one's, out like again, in the middle of God's big blue ocean, and another one's over here in this cove, and this one's still, again, with me in the boat. It was very, you just need
stressful
to take...
for you,
it was,
sounds like.
It was a bit stressful. You do have the help of the people that are leading the shore excursion.
But there's the added stress of being in a place you're unfamiliar with, for one.
Yes, but and you do have the help of other people, but again, it comes down to it's your children, and you're the one who's in charge of watching them. So that's something else to keep in mind when you're picking your shore excursion.
And the cost.
Are you outnumbered?
Yeah, and the cost of your excursion. Keep that in mind.
Right.
Is it going to be worth your money to do this? We always go with, I don't want to spend a lot of money on excursions because I always feel like if it's a bust and we don't like it, then I'm out my money.
Yeah.
So I always go for especially if there's a bunch of you. If I got all my kids with me, then
It adds up quick.
It adds up quick. It does, and it adds a lot to your, bottom line.
Well, this kind of answered my question because I was just thinking to myself, what do you do with kids on an island? I guess that's just my inexperience, but it sounds like you guys are really good at, kind of focusing in on which excursions work for you and which islands you think maybe you can just get away with getting off the ship or not getting off the ship. And it sounds like Castaway Cay is by far the clear winner here.
You can be contacted on Castaway Cay. Like if you leave your kids on the ship, which I've done at many ports, but they don't have any way to contact you. And I know they're safe, and if there was some problem, it would be taken care of. But still, they can't contact you in any way. And so that's kind of nerve-wracking. So you have to, think about that too. And are your kids going to want to come out of the kids club and want to call you, and then you're off, in some port? So...
And I was going to ask the kids clubs and the nurseries and all that's all in full swing on other port days, right? Obviously not on Castaway Day, but on other port days.
I don't know if that was the last section we're going to talk about. That one. I do want to give some tips about cruising with infants and toddlers. I mean, I only have experience with that.
Yeah.
If they're in that stroller age, try to leave the big strollers at home. The cruise is, you don't have a lot of space to maneuver. Try to get a
ones
little.
that you have to put air in the tires.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, the side by side.
Yeah, leave those at home. Try to get a little umbrella stroller, something very portable. Those elevators are not huge. They do provide you diaper genies in the room. Also, they like bed rails. They'll provide those for you too. We needed those for Ferris and Finley. The lecture stateroom hosts know when you come in, when they make your room over, they'll have the bed rails all set up. So there's a lot of stuff they'll do for you, but leave the big strollers at home. But bring all your good stuff like the formula and wipes. Real expensive on the ship.
Real quick before we wrap up, something I probably should have asked from the get-go. You were talking about bed rails, and it just made me think, how do you feel Disney and the different types of staterooms accommodate families with children? I mean, it seems to work out all right with you guys. I know you were saying that it can feel crowded sometimes, but...
It's tight.
Well, it just depends on what category you have. A Category 4 or a Category 8 are both family, deluxe family staterooms. One has just a porthole, and the other one has the veranda. Those give you a little bit more room. Most of them give you the round tub, I think. All of them give you the split bath. I think those accommodate well because, especially if you got small children, I recommend for families that have 3 children, I would, if you can at all swing it, get 2 staterooms with a connecting door. Put one parent in each one and split your children up however you feel. Then you can put all your children in one and you and your spouse or partner are in the other stateroom with that door between you that you can leave open, but it gives you a little bit more space.
Yeah.
I always think that's a good idea. And also, if you, like I was when Stella was tiny, I did not want a balcony just for my own personal peace of mind because I just knew she'd be flying over the edge.
It's a scary thought.
It's a scary thought. I mean, you can't go back from that. It's a done deal. Bye,
And for the most part, we really didn't use the balcony that much. Maybe like Castaway Key Day when you kind of go out and you look.
Yeah.
And, a few, here and there we'd use it, but for the most part, we didn't use it. It was more of I hope the kids don't get out
I know.
there.
First time we had a balcony, and Stella was probably 4th or 5th grade at this point. Open the door, but you sit on the bed and look. Don't go out there. So you can see it, but don't get the breeze on your face. If your hair's moving, you're too close. We had rules. Other people, it's okay with that. I mean, it just depends on your level of comfort, I think.
Yeah.
The family staterooms have the couch. Well, the couch turns into a bed. Then there's a bed that folds down from the ceiling, and then there's a Murphy bed which folds down.
Some of them have that, yeah.
Right,
not all of them do.
Depending on what category. And if you don't need the
depending
Murphy
on
bed,
the room, not all the same categories have the same.
Okay,
have that. Yeah,
that's a good place to put the pack and play. If you have a baby, put it in front of the Murphy bed.
Yeah.
We would not let our younger son sleep on the one that comes down because he sleeps on the floor most nights. He falls out of bed all the time, and so. Yeah. But that is an option. You've got that one that folds down.
That's the one that we had. We had the bed that dropped from the ceiling, and my children loved it. It was really cute. It had.
Do they rotate? Who was up there?
They had
that's what we always do. We always rotate. Is that where you're going to sleep on this cruise?
Apparently so, because I had to forfeit the bed to you.
See, we did the sofa bed, and we did a drop down. We had the bed rails on each one. So Finley stayed up top. Ferris did the bottom one, and then we had the Murphy bed for Julie's sister.
And the Murphy bed's not really comfortable.
It was packed. So we had 5 people in there.
Yeah.
I do have a tip for families in the close quarters of the stateroom. Bring a robe. Like, I just avoided a lot of very awkward situations with my 12-year-old son because when I would come out of the very hot, steamy shower, I had my robe. So
I just make sure that curtain's closed between the 2 areas.
That's good at night.
I'm showering,
you have some separation.
If I'm showering, the curtain's closed and you stay over there. But don't go out on the deck. Stay away from the deck.
You have a 3-foot perimeter that you're allowed to go into.
Those doors are pretty hard to open, too.
They are
you can really lock them. They're difficult.
Cool. Well, unless anybody has any last-minute stuff they want to add, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
The kids clubs, you're on main dining, or if you're on second dining, and you want them to come around during dinner, they'll collect your children.
Like at 9 o'clock.
Like the Pied Piper will come into the dining room and collect all the children, and they follow them out, and it's amazing. Then you're left to dine in peace, or just a little more quiet, a little more leisurely.
Interesting.
In the second dining, and you tell them that you're going to do that, and they'll serve your child's meal during your appetizer, so that kid is done and out, and you're left to. They come in and collect them, and they just run off with these. It's fun.
Wish I could do that at breakfast.
I know. Come and collect door to door. We're here for your children. So awesome. I just thought that's a cool option.
Good tip. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. And thank you all for contributing. I hope you guys all had fun watching. And we will see you next week with another episode of The Diz Unplugged. Goodbye.